Hello there. Well, it's gonna be Sunday when you guys are watching this, the last day of our garden week. What a change in the weather in this week. It went from frost and cold and me being worried about this garden to warm, beautiful 70-degree days. Today it's not as beautiful. Now we are into some nice spring rains, but the garden has totally moved into the spring season. I feel like I was just over here kind of looking at some of these containers, planning out a little bit of the, summer garden and some of my plans, because pretty soon here, like the next, probably not next weekend, but the weekend after, for sure, I'll be planting and going to the garden center and getting some of the first summer annuals. I may, of course, pop and see what they have next weekend, but it's already starting to look so much more like spring. I noticed that the collard greens over here in this container are starting to bolt, so it is already starting to get too warm for these guys and they're starting to flower. I am planning on doing probably a squash and letting it grow up this trellis. I'm going to leave this trellis in this container, and so I'll probably put a squash, and I think I'm going to put my ground cherries, like 2 plants, in this 15-gallon grow bag, but I'm going to leave the collard greens for just another day or two. If I can, I like to let them just flower so that the pollinators, these early pollinators, have something that they can go get a little bit of pollen from early in the season. So I will probably let these flower, but they're still really pretty. And I actually kind of love the flowers that you get on these kinds of plants. They're just usually really sweet and delicate and very spring-like. So I'm going to leave that as long as possible. And these are my rutabagas, which I covered them with this bug netting to help keep the squirrels out of here. And I think I can actually remove this. Look how pretty. They are getting so big all of a sudden, just taking off with growth. There's some onions in here as well. So I don't think I'm just gonna let these grow. I'm not gonna switch anything out into this grow bag just yet. But there's room for new things to be planted. And this was one of the fun things that I saw that I thought I was gonna want to show you too. Look at all these flowers on the blueberry. So this is actually a container blueberry plant. I think it's called just called like patio blueberry. And the cool thing about it is that you also don't absolutely have to have a second plant for pollination. I think it helps, like the rule of thumb is that it helps, but if you don't have a second plant, it's okay. And I actually had ordered a second plant, but it never, it showed up in really bad shape. I never got it going. So I may be on the lookout for a mate for this guy, but it's starting to bloom already. And this is my first year with it blooming. And I'm really excited to see all those blooms because those mean berries. So that'll be good. But it's just a really rainy day out here in the garden. And after really following this garden day by day over the week here, it was kind of, it was just kind of fun when I came out here today to realize there's already so much growth. I mean, I feel like the clematis over here have just, they've just gone wild. When I put them in the greenhouse to protect them from the freeze on Tuesday, they were just barely starting to sprout and bud, and now they are fully taking off. I'm going to try to train them up here onto this arch trellis. I think that will be really pretty. And these collard greens are starting to bolt too. So I may harvest like 1 or 2 leaves this week and then probably pull this out and get ready to plant in. A squash is going to go here. So as soon as we get past that last frost date, I can put a squash in. That'll be wonderful. But yeah, just look at these clematis. So fun to see such growth. And they've officially made it through the winter, which is like, that was my big goal for the winter, was keep these plants alive and get them through. A sense of accomplishment in that. And that's really, really exciting. I also was starting to plan out my menu for the week and the different things I want to get from the grocery store, and I officially did not have to put lettuce on the grocery list. I'm going to come out probably later in the week and harvest some of the lettuce from the different areas in the garden, and that's always exciting too, when you feel like you've you've made it to a point where you're replacing something in your grocery store order from the garden. Even a tiny little garden like this, it's possible to do stuff like that. So just a rainy day, but some exciting little garden finds. I'm also gonna throw in, I know I've been throwing in a few clips from past days, but I wanted to make sure I gave you all the updates. I ordered a little bit more seaweed for the container pond over here, and I went ahead and got that planted in. So I'm gonna share the clips of unboxing that seaweed, how I'm gonna be growing it in the container pond this season. It's now a few days later. It's just over a week, I think, since I got it. I go slowly, maybe you can see the fish in there. Got some goldfish and some ruby red minnows. And the seaweed is looking good. It's looking happy. Really nice oxygenating plants. And so on a rainy day today, it's one of the nicest times to have a pond like this, because there's just something really pretty about the raindrops landing on the pond. It's really nice. And there you can see this is all the watercress that I have that's coming up in here. I do need to do a little bit of trimming around the violas, but there's all the little goldfish in there. They survived all the frosts. They did super well, no problems for them. All good things out here, and it's starting to rain really hard. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in those clips about getting this new seaweed for the pond. If you have hung out with me all week this week, I just wanted to say thank you. As always, thank you so much for watching. And here, have a look at the seaweed. So I got a fun package, came super quickly, and I'm really excited about it. And it's for the container pond. So I ordered a little bit more seaweed, some hornwort, and I ordered one other thing. I can't even remember the name of it, but another plant that is an oxygenating seaweed. So it's like a seaweed plant to grow under the water in the container pond, and it'll just help to bring more oxygen into the water. Because I have the fish there particularly, I want to make sure that I'm getting enough oxygen into the water. And also the plants help to keep the water clear because they use some of the nutrients that the fish are giving off, and it helps to keep a happy cycle. So I did order these. It's not technically after our last frost, but I don't think the container pond is in any risk of freezing over. We're getting a few cool nights here or there. We've got a couple more frosts, but nothing like hitting freezing snow, nothing like that, hopefully. Certainly no deep freezes or anything. So I'm gonna put the camera up, and then I will show you the different seaweeds, and I'll show you how I'm just gonna get them. Basically, I think I'm just gonna float them in the pond, but we'll take a look at them and see what they look like. Ordering plants online can be a bit of a hit or miss process. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes I've also had some fails. So I've had some really great success and some not so good success. This company is actually from Etsy, which there's an interesting number of plants available on Etsy, which is kind of funny, but a lot of good like seeds and things. So I've had good luck with this in the past. This is the company that I ordered the hornwort from last time, that I had in my container pond last summer. So it comes packaged in here, a little bit of paper. There's a little card. I will link them. I'll link them in the description. They have a YouTube channel, it looks like, too, and Instagram, Facebook. So if you want to check them out, as I said, I've had really good luck. So I would only recommend to you things that I've used in the past and had good luck. And this is how the seaweed comes. It looks great, it looks super healthy. So I think this is the hornwort, and I can't remember. I'll have to look back at my order, but here's some other seaweed. So you could kind of secure this in the bottom and let it kind of grow up, which is probably the best thing to do. And I'm trying to think how I can sink it down in there, because the container pond is full. I really should have thought through this better, because I literally just filled the container pond back up and cleaned it, and I should have waited so I could put these in. But I've got an idea. So let me grab a couple little cups, and I think I'm just gonna weight these down in the cups and then sink them in the pond. I'll show you. I'm still very new to container pond gardening, and so this may not be like the recommended way to do it, but it's what I have been doing is just like weighting them down. I've got a bunch of rocks in the bottom of my container pond, which I'll show you that in a second. So here's the seaweed. I'm just gonna place it basically in this pot, just using the pot to kind of secure it. And then I'm gonna take some of these like river stones and weight it down. I think this will work, and it'll allow a little spot for the fish to kind of hide in, and I think that'll be just fine. All right, baby girl wanted to join me. So I could probably use a smaller pot or something, but I think this will make it really easy to sink these pots down into the pond. And I found that last year, the hornwort did really, it really multiplied. It really was happy and it grew really well. So hopefully this will provide a good sort of setup. I don't know, this is what we're gonna go with. The pots are black, so once they sink down into the pond, maybe I should take these tags off. Once they sink down into the pond, I think they'll be perfect, like you won't notice them. I am totally just making everything up as I go along with the container pond gardening. I've looked at a few different channels and watched some videos, but it's been fun to experiment, and I always like to just sort of try things out and see how I do. Okay, let's sink them into the pond. All right, so here's the container pond. It's looking good. I've got a water lily in the middle here, so I have to make sure that these sink over, not on top of the water lily. There it goes. Okay, I think that worked. And on this side too, here we go. Let it sink down. Cool. The fish are gonna like that. I can see the fish in there swimming around. Let me see if I can get them on camera. Sometimes they're a little shy. Oh, there you can see one of the minnows. The water is not super clear yet. After I cleaned it out, it's been a little bit cloudy. I think just because I got fresh water in there, and you know that can sometimes cause like a little bit of a bloom of different bacterias or algae. So I've been dealing with that a little bit, but I think that's going to continue to clear up. I'm not too worried. And with the different seaweeds in there, that should help too and provide more oxygen. I do have this little solar fountain, which does a pretty good job on a sunny day. It really goes kind of crazy and is provides a lot of water, which is just like you want to have that splash. I guess it's a lot of agitation to the surface of the water is how I should say it better. So it gets some oxygen back into the water, which is important. We'll see. I may get one of the ones that they have solar fountains that have like a little solar panel that you actually put further out, because I could put that maybe, you know, on the fence, and that might do a little bit of a better job really getting a lot of sun. This area is very much part shade in the summer, which is good because it stays cool, but it's not quite enough to keep that fountain going all the time. But with the oxygenating plants in there last year, I really didn't have an issue. My fish were very, very happy, and they were eating so many of the mosquito larvae that I didn't even really have to feed them that much. That is one of the things for sure, that if you do have a container pond, you kind of need to have fish, because otherwise, I don't know, you'd have to, I guess, empty the water out of it very regularly, every couple days, because the mosquitoes do, you know, want to lay eggs in there. But I'm excited about this. Little seaweed is going to be so pretty. I'll try to get another shot maybe in a couple days here when hopefully the water has cleared up and you can get a better look at what the seaweed actually looks like. And I'm thinking that putting them in those little pots will help. Last year I did have an issue with the seaweed floating up and kind of floating around, which wasn't really a problem, but it just wasn't rooted down into the base of the pond the way that I kind of intended it to be. But that was a fun little shipment. It's always nice to get a little bit of plant mail this time of year as we're getting closer and closer to that last frost. That feels really exciting. So again, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will talk to you soon. So much exciting stuff going to be happening in the next 2 weeks. We're really going to get to start planting, and that is a good thing. Bye-bye.